Difficult emotions and pain are experienced by everyone. They are part of the human condition. But we spend a lot of time struggling with these emotions because we don't want to have them. Struggle with difficult emotions comes in many forms: avoiding them, suppressing them, distracting ourselves, trying to get rid of them. Struggle is often about controlling our emotions, even though they're not controllable. This is an understandable response because we're taught by society that negative emotions and thoughts are bad and should be removed, so we attempt to fix them. Part of the reason we do this is because fixing problems works well for external issues. If you don't like a TV show, you can turn it off. If a project deadline is coming up, you can work on it. But while this can work for external problems, fixing things is not always a useful approach for internal problems or unwanted experiences such as painful emotions and unhelpful thoughts. Struggling with difficult emotions often doesn't work in the long term, and it can frequently backfire as our painful emotions can actually increase. For example, if we feel anxiety, a common reaction is to struggle against it, to try and get rid of it because we don't want it. This can make us feel anxious or frustrated about our anxiety, and just like that, we've doubled our anxiety. Or if we feel sad and don't want to feel that sadness, we might get irritated and angry that we're sad, or feel guilty for feeling sad, or we may just feel sad that we're sad. All of these responses amplify the sadness, piling on more difficult emotions because we're struggling with the initial emotion of sadness. Research tells us that this amplification process is common and that struggling with difficult emotions can have a rebound effect. This is where the emotion becomes even more prominent or lingers for longer the more we struggle with it. So we have the original difficult emotion, and then, in our effort to get rid of it, we often pile more difficult emotions on top. So what can we do instead? Another option, which is supported by research, is to drop the struggle with difficult emotions so that we do not add to them. The clean pain versus dirty pain metaphor helps to explain this. Clean pain is the natural upset we feel in response to the hardships of living. Dirty pain is the struggle with this clean pain, a second layer of pain. Now we have clean pain plus dirty pain, which produces suffering. We can't do anything about the ordinary pain of living, like distress in response to seeing someone suffer. But we can do something about the struggle with this pain, the dirty pain. We are most likely to experience difficult emotions when doing things we value. So if we try to avoid these difficult emotions, we might also avoid things that are important to us. Examples could be avoiding socializing because it makes us anxious, even though we want to make more friends. Giving up on a meaningful project because we feel frustrated by our manager, the bureaucracy, and how slowly things are moving. Or avoiding exercise because it makes us feel unpleasant, even if we know it makes us feel better in the long run. It is natural to feel difficult emotions and sensations when we are doing something that's important to us. This is likely to happen when we undertake valued actions on the way to building the life we want. We can almost guarantee that difficult emotions will arise simply because this journey is so important. We can't stop this clean pain that comes and goes as we pursue our values, but we can reduce the dirty pain by dropping the struggle with difficult experiences and continuing to pursue the things we value, regardless of the difficulties we encounter. So to summarize what we've covered so far, difficult emotions are a natural part of life. Struggling with difficult emotions and thoughts can amplify them. Struggle can also make us miss out on doing the things that we value most. Let's try an activity to look at our difficult emotions without struggling against them. Close your eyes. Mentally scan your body and pick an emotion or sensation that is bothering you. Now try to visualize this difficult feeling as an object, Observe it the way a curious scientist might. What shape is it? What color is it? Does it have a texture, rough or smooth or spiky? Is it transparent? Is it hot or cold? Is it light or heavy? Where does it sit in your body? In your chest or your throat or somewhere else? Take a few slow, deep breaths. Breathe into and around this object. Make room for it. Don't struggle with it. Allow the object to be there, to stay right where it is. As you continue to watch the object, you can see that while the feeling is inside of us, it is not us. It is its own thing. The sensation is just a temporary thing we are experiencing. We are always more than our feelings and thoughts. Feelings and thoughts are like passing clouds in the sky or cars on the road, a constant changing stream. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. To get a better idea of struggle, let's look at a fictional example. Sarah works on a water and sanitation project. She started her career as a passionate worker because helping others is really important to her. Lately, she's felt really stressed out due to a heavy workload, long hours, and lack of support from her manager. The project is moving slowly, and she feels isolated and lonely away from her family. Sarah struggles with feelings of stress and anxiety. She started this work because she wanted to help people, but often thinks, I'll never be able to really help anyone. When she fuses with this thought, she feels despondent. All of these feelings and thoughts are completely understandable given her situation, but unfortunately Sarah is amplifying them through struggle. When she notices feelings of stress, she tries to suppress them, which takes a lot of energy and tends to make them linger all day. Sarah considers herself logical, so sometimes she tries to argue with the feelings of sadness, listing all the reasons why she should be happy. This sometimes works for a short time. Other times it just makes her feel guilty for feeling sad. Most of the time she just tries to cut herself off from her feelings. Unfortunately, this means she's not in touch with her own emotions, and they tend to overwhelm her unexpectedly. She gets irritated with her colleagues, and when she's feeling irritated or sad, she drinks and overeats to numb out the feelings. This gives her some short-term relief, but afterwards she feels ill, sad, and guilty. To distract herself, she spends a lot of time on social media. It's slightly pleasurable, but mainly makes her feel like she's missing out. And then she realizes she's missed hours of work instead of finishing an important project. She now feels even more stressed and wonders what she's doing here. In Sarah's example, we can see she's experiencing some difficult emotions and thoughts, which are a natural result of being in a tough situation. And we can also see she has a lot of methods to counteract the difficult feelings and thoughts. Distraction, suppression, logic, eating, drinking, social media. But there's something funny going on here. It seems that with all of the things Sarah has tried and all of the effort she's putting in, she's still struggling. The tactics she has tried have not solved her feelings of sadness and anxiety in a long-term way. This is not something that's wrong with Sarah, but something that's wrong with the strategies she has been using. Strategies she has learnt from society and those around her. These struggle strategies are not working in the long term, and many of them take her away from what she values most, which is helping others. Realizing that none of her struggle strategies have worked may make her feel like nothing can work. But this is actually a really useful spot to be, because with a little help, she can now abandon what hasn't worked and use a new approach, something different to struggle. So we've seen that while struggling with difficult emotions seems reasonable, it can have unhelpful outcomes, amplifying the difficult experiences and leading us away from the things that we value. This struggle is demonstrated in a metaphor about quicksand. When people fall into quicksand, their instinct is to panic and struggle to get out. This response seems to make sense. Quicksand is dangerous and unpleasant. Unfortunately, every time they struggle, they get pulled further and further into the quicksand. So a response that we thought would make things better actually makes things worse. But there is another, more helpful response to quicksand that is also counterintuitive. And that is to relax, to stop the struggle and lie down on the quicksand, spreading out so that you're floating on it. Yes, you're still on the quicksand, but you are no longer struggling, so you're not being pulled down deeper. We can take a similar approach when we face difficult thoughts and feelings. Instead of struggling with them, we drop the struggle and let them be. This approach is called willingness. Willingness means letting go of struggle, and instead allowing the difficult experiences to just be there, without trying to change them or struggle with them. When we stop struggling with a difficult emotion, we set it free and watch it objectively. It might get bigger or smaller. It might go away quickly or stay where it is. But when we are willingly letting an emotion be there, we can drop the struggle and we do not amplify the emotion. This gives us more space to move towards the things we value. Willingness is being open to what we are experiencing right now. Specifically, it's about being willing to feel what we are currently feeling in terms of emotions and sensations. Willingness involves fully embracing experiences. This includes all emotions, thoughts, and sensations, not just the ones we like. We aim to observe inner experiences without judging them or evaluating them. So the key points on willingness are that willingness means letting go of struggle. It involves being willing to feel and allow difficult emotions and sensations. Let's try a willingness exercise. Close your eyes or just gaze gently at the floor. Take some time to identify a difficult emotion. Pick something a little difficult, but nothing too overwhelming while you're learning. Now, with this in mind, try to use the following phrases. I notice I'm having this feeling. I don't like this feeling, but I have room for it. It's unpleasant, but I can allow it to be here. I don't like it. I don't approve of it, but right here and now, I'm willing to have it. These phrases support willingness to experience the feeling and also emphasize that you're not the difficult experience. It's just something that is temporarily happening within you. All internal experiences, such as feelings and sensations, are constantly changing. This is reassuring. You can be sure of one thing, and that is that no feeling will remain the same. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. This activity can help us drop the struggle through a formal exercise, and we can also practice willingness more informally by just noticing our emotions and dropping any struggle as we go about our day. Being open to our full experience is very helpful in learning to work with unpleasant feelings while choosing to move in a valued direction. Pain is a natural part of the human condition, and it is our struggle to get rid of our pain which creates much of our suffering. So instead of spending a lot of time and energy in struggling against how we feel, we can focus our energy on living our lives towards our dreams and goals, and the pain can come along for the ride. So it may not always feel pleasant, but we are living our life in line with what is important to us. Willingness is about choosing to feel whatever arises in the present moment, even feelings we don't like. It is a choice, and it's a bit like an all or nothing choice. We are either completely willing to feel something or we are not. Willingness is not about tolerating or just getting through a difficult emotion, and it's also not about resignation or giving up. Instead, willingness is about being fully open to our experience in the present moment. It is an ongoing, active process of allowing what is happening, rather than waiting for things to change or trying to change them. Willingness is a choice to embrace what life serves up to us, even if it's not what we wanted. The more open we become to embracing our inner experiences, the greater our ability to move towards the life we want. Sometimes, when we use willingness, the pain associated with struggle will fade. But willingness is not another strategy to get rid of difficult thoughts and feelings. That would make it just another struggle strategy. Willingness involves being open to experiencing whatever comes in the present moment. It is not about opening up to unwanted feelings just so that you can get rid of them. Let's try another willingness exercise. This one has 5 steps you can practice throughout the day whenever a difficult emotion arises. These steps are: stop, examine, breathe, allow, and start again. Let's try these now. Close your eyes or gaze softly at the floor. Identify a difficult emotion that's happening now. Nothing too overwhelming. Then we can begin. Stop. Pause in what you're doing. Examine your experiences in your body. Bring your awareness to the difficult feeling in your body. Let go of any judgments of the experience as good or bad. Just let it be there. Watch it. Breathe. Breathe into your difficult feeling. Breathe around it as if to make extra space for it. Use a few deep breaths. Allow. Allow the feeling to come and go. Let it be there, even if you don't like it or want it. Your mind may comment on what's happening. Acknowledge this and come back to observing. You may feel the urge to fight or push away the feeling. Just acknowledge this urge and bring your attention back to the experience. Start again. Re-engage in the world and keep doing what you were doing while the feeling emerged. Notice the sights in front of you, feel the seat underneath you. Willingness helps us to continue with our lives while allowing feelings to rise and fall in the background. When you're ready, please open your eyes. You might find it's often difficult to open up to our most difficult thoughts and feelings, so willingness can be really challenging. Sometimes it's so challenging that willingness doesn't feel like an option, but there is always a choice. This difficult choice is exemplified in the metaphor of an unwanted party guest. Imagine you've moved house and you throw a party to thank all of your friends for helping you move, and you want to get to know your new neighbours. You're really excited about having everyone around and send messages out saying everyone is welcome. On the day of the party, guests start to arrive, and they're chatting and having fun. You're having a great time. The doorbell rings again, and when you answer the door, you find Barry on your doorstep. Barry is one of your neighbours. You've met him a few times, and he's always rude to everyone. He says offensive things and is always grumpy. He doesn't often shower or wash his clothes and tends to put most people off. Before you stop him, Barry barges in the door and starts heading for the party where he starts to annoy the other guests. He leaves a mess everywhere he goes and is really rude to your friends. Understandably, you're a little upset, so you speak to Barry, saying he needs to leave the party. But this seems to make him even more unpleasant, and he yells that he won't leave. You take Barry into the kitchen to distract him with food and tell him not to come out to the party. Meanwhile, you go back out and start to enjoy yourself. But pretty soon, Barry is back at the party and annoying your friends. You take him back to the kitchen, and the only way you can keep him there is to stand between him and the kitchen door. This works at keeping Barry inside, and you start to feel relieved. But outside, you can hear the party is still going on without you. It's important for you to go out and be with your friends, but you don't want Barry to join the party. So you realize you have a choice. You can miss your own party to keep Barry under control, or you can let him come out to the party and be willing to let him stay. This is not an easy choice, but it is still a choice. Eventually, you decide your friends are too important to miss, and so you go back out to the party and decides that if Barry comes out, that's just the way it has to be. Sure enough, in a few minutes, Barry is back out at the party. But this time, something is different. You can't ignore him because he's pretty obvious. But you've decided to let him be there while you spend time with your friends. After a while, you notice that even though he's there, you're actually having some fun. Yes, it would be better if he wasn't there at all, but at least you're not stuck in the kitchen and missing out on time with your friends. Also, now that you're not trying to force Barry out all the time, he seems a little calmer and less annoying. This is a metaphor for the choice we face when difficult emotions are interfering with living a life that we value. We will face challenging emotions when we pursue what matters to us. If we want friendships, we have to face the vulnerabilities that come with socializing. If we want to do really well at a task, we have to make room for fears of failure. So this leads to the question, could you willingly experience difficult emotions if it meant you got to live the life you wanted? The key points from today's sessions are: difficult emotions are a natural part of life. Struggle with difficult emotions and thoughts can amplify them and take us away from our values. Willingness means letting go of struggle, allowing difficult emotions and sensations to be there. Being willing to experience difficult feelings can help us live the lives we want, in line with our values.